The Obama administration today is asking British Petroleum to make its oil records public. BP is still struggling to plug that massive oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico. The company now says it's capturing 5,000 barrels of oil a day. That happens to be the company's and federal agencies' estimate of the amount of oil that has been pouring into the Gulf each day since the spill started. But it's far less than some scientists say it's actually leaking. Carol Browner, director of the White House's Office of Energy and Climate Change Policy, joins us now. Ms. Browner, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So as the White House asks for more records from BP, why is it happening now? Why didn't it happen right after the spill occurred?
We've been asking for records all along. Today we sent a request, a demand really, from Secretary Napolitano and Administrator Jackson saying we want everything. The public has a right to know. We want to get this information. We want to be able to review it, and we want to make sure that we're getting all of the information.
Now, does BP then have a legal impetus to turn this information over? I mean, under regulatory authority, are there penalties if you don't get the information?
We're going to do everything in our power to get the information. Again, as I said, the public has a right to know. We have a right to know. Thus far, BP has not been as forthcoming as we wanted them to be. That's why we're issuing this letter, this demand today from Secretaries Napolitano and Administrator Jackson.
Ms. Browner, why was there such confusion initially about how much oil was leaking?
I think it's been hard. You're working a mile underneath the ocean. It's been hard to look at what's coming out. We have been using satellite imagery, other ways of measuring. How much is coming out is an important thing to understand. We're getting, I think, better information. We have boats in the area, NOAA's in the area. But in the meantime, what we need to stay really focused on is how do we get this stopped, and how do we make sure that our coastal states and our cities and communities are protected to the best of everyone's ability.
And how do you respond to the criticism from some scientists that indeed the administration was not quick enough to act on this, both getting the information from BP and also acting to try and stop the flow?
Well, in terms of stopping the flow, we have been working very, very aggressively. We've brought Stephen Chu in, a Nobel Prize-winning scientist, to help understand what the options are. We've been able to put ideas on the table. We've convened a group of scientists to put ideas on the table. There is something that is now working to at least remove some of the oil. There'll be another effort to actually shut it down, starting, I think, on Monday. And at the same time, we're focusing on the containment, on the spill cleanup, and we've already taken steps. For example, over at the Department of Interior, Secretary Salazar is taking steps to reform the MMS, breaking it into 3 distinct units.
Yeah. Ms. Browner, but might I ask you, is this one of those things, was the Minerals Management Service, was it asleep at the switch? That was the interagency department that was actually supposed to be keeping watch over things like this.
MMS is a part of the Department of Interior, and they have responsibility. As you know, the President has ordered a 30-day review. We are looking at all of those questions. We want the answers just as much as you do, and we're going to get them.
Ms. Browner, we learned a little while ago that the administration is asking that a different type of dispersant be used. Can you give us some more details on that?
Yes, Administrator Jackson, the EPA, have been monitoring the dispersant use, and today Administrator Jackson told BP that they will be required to use a different dispersants. They have 24 hours in which to notify EPA which one they will use, and then they have to change out their equipment and start using it. This is a difficult situation. We're using these dispersants to try and break up the globs of oil so that it can be more easily cleaned. It's a pre-approved list. The EPA went back and looked at that list. They believe there is one that is better able to do the job and less toxic, and so Administrator Jackson has taken a very, very important step today to put that in place.
How much concern is there about the dispersant that has already been used and what damage it might do?
Well, we have monitoring in place. There's EPA monitoring in place. There's Coast Guard monitoring in place. There's NOAA monitoring in place. And in part because of that monitoring, we're taking these steps.
Yeah.
This is an evolving situation, and we are on top of it, trying to understand what is the best answer to a very difficult situation.
Ms. Browner, we have about 20 seconds left. You were formerly the head of the EPA. Can you even gauge at this point what the environmental impact of this is going to be? A lot of folks are saying this is just going to be devastating.
This is going to be very, very difficult. We're doing everything we can to minimize it, but obviously we're going to be working with the communities and states to ensure that going forward, the cleanup, the containment works to the best of everyone's ability.
All right, Carol Browner joining us from the White House. Ms. Browner, thank you so much. We appreciate it.